Continuing our SEC Blue Blood breakdowns of newcomers, we move to Oklahoma, which ranks 9th nationally, 4th in the SEC with 27 commits, 1 5-star included in that class. Our Colin Kennedy of Sooners Illustrated has more.
This Oklahoma recruiting class is all about two things. Number one, shoring up those offensive and defensive lines of scrimmage ahead of a move to the SEC. And number two, getting set to be starting quarterback Jackson Arnold even more offensive weapons. And some names to know. Yes, they're excited to bring in 5-star defensive lineman David Stone. Sure, they're excited to bring in the number 1 running back in America in Taylor Tatum. But Devon Mitchell, to me, is a prospect that OU is thrilled to have. Why? Well, when you consider the need at the tight end spot, plus who the program promoted to be the offensive coordinator and co-offensive coordinator, extreme emphasis set to be placed on the tight end position. Devon Mitchell fits that need. Then over to the defensive side, Nigel Smith continues to be underappreciated. This is one of the first prospects that this Oklahoma staff called upon getting the job. He was their number 1 defensive end target on the board. Long time prioritized, now committed and set to be signed. He's a versatile, talented prospect, part of an important defensive line haul for OU, and an overall exciting group that will take Oklahoma into the SEC.
All right, so the first player we want to talk about is 5-star offensive tackle David Stone out of IMG Academy, but he's originally from Del City, Oklahoma, so returning back to his home state. And obviously, offensive linemen come at a premium, so this is a pretty big get for Brett Venables.
Yeah, and when he committed to Oklahoma, there was a lot of speculation that he might stay in his new state and go play either at Florida or at Miami. And obviously, with Miami's ability to recruit in the trenches on the offensive line and defensive line, it seemed like the Canes might have a chance. But here was Oklahoma. Brett Venables knows a thing or two about defensive linemen. He knows a thing or two about elite defenses. And where do you win? Well, you win at the line of scrimmage, and you win up front. And when they were able to get David Stone, and then again to be able to hold on to him with all the schools coming at him, you talk about a guy who's got that versatility. He can line up outside as an edge. He could play 3-tech. He could be an inside guy as a defensive tackle. He could play any spot along the defensive line. But more importantly, it's that ability to play multiple positions that he can be utilized in a lot of ways. And that's something familiar with what we saw with Brett Venables at Clemson.
If you go back to Clemson, that's what Clemson won with when they beat Alabama. They had all 4 of those guys that end up playing in the NFL. 3 of them were first rounders. The other guy was a 4th round pick. But they're putting together a defensive line that are positionless guys that can line up as a 3 technique that's over the guard, line up as a 4-eye that's over the tackle, and get some edge pressure, because he can be a 3 technique and apply pressure as an interior guy, but get on the edge and set it if you're going against guys that like running the ball with 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends, 13 personnel package guys. But David Stone, man, interior pass rusher with some skills and some nastiness to him.
Love it. Next, we'll move to Taylor Tatum, the top running back in the nation. He's been committed since July, and even though there was some potential that his position coach might leave, he said he wanted to stay at Oklahoma for the chance to play 2 sports at an SEC school, baseball being the other one. But he's also providing some good competitive depth to the running back room with true freshman Dalen Smothers transferring. Huff, what do you like about Taylor Tatum?
Well, I think you just like the complete package that he is. There's a reason he is the number 1 running back in this 2024 class, and there's a really good contingent of backs from the Lone Star State. But what I love about him is his vision. The way he sees the holes before it even is created, he hits that hole, and then he's able to get upfield. He runs with great balance. When he's hit, he stays on his feet. He knows how to play low. He knows how to keep his feet, break tackles, and get out into the open field. And, you mentioned the 2 sports. He is a baseball player. He plays in the outfield, and he's got the opportunity to play at a high level, and his ability to cover so much ground as an outfielder. I'm a big, I'm old school. You and I talked a couple weeks ago about Bo Jackson and those old school football and baseball players. You don't see them as much now. It's mostly football track, but I kind of like those guys that play center field because they're used to covering a lot of ground. And so that's something that he does really well when he's running the ball, is he covers a lot of ground. He can make up space and get out into space on the football field. And I think you see where he had this record-setting career as a running back. That's going to translate very well to the next level. And I think Oklahoma, as big as David Stone was to get, and for obvious reasons, still, Oklahoma, we're used to them always having a good running back, and they got the best in the country.
Well, when you talk about his running back skills, he's an old school guy. When you cut his film on, he's dotting the I. Like, he's running downhill. He's not playing shotgun football. He's coming down, running downhill at you. But you see a one-cut slasher with some explosiveness. But what he's really good at is when you split him out as a receiver. And that's where you see the baseball skills and the center field skills come in. His ability to track the ball over his shoulder. He runs routes and catches the ball like a receiver, but has running back skills in terms of getting in the holes, one cut, explosiveness, getting downhill, and scoring. This is a 3-down back that you don't have to take off the field, and matchup issues for guys that want to put a linebacker on him.
Hey, we talk about needing speed moving to the SEC, but the old school running back, that's something you're going to need in that conference as well. Next, let's talk about Zion Kerney out of Fort Bend Hightower in Texas. He's a 4-star receiver. Now, I found it interesting reading through some of his scouting reports and stories. Sounds like he wasn't getting a lot of targets, so his production maybe doesn't match his potential. But what do you think about him?
Well, I think, first of all, it's interesting. Oklahoma's got 2 receivers coming in named Zion Kerney and Zion Reagans, but not every receiver has an elite quarterback on their team. With all due respect to his quarterback, some guys are still in offenses that are maybe more run heavy. Maybe the quarterback just can't get the ball to the playmaker. So when you watch Zion Kerney, you see the size, you see the skill set, but you also see the upside that he has. And this is a kid that when he gets to college and he gets into a pass-friendly offense, you're going to be able to see what he brings to the table. You're going to be able to utilize that skill set. Again, he's not the fastest receiver out there, but he's fast enough. He does get the separation, but his ability to track the ball, his ability to adjust to every pass that's thrown his way, how technically sound he runs the route tree extremely well. He can high point the ball. He can make that yard with contact. He's able to shed defenders and get off that coverage and get himself open. But I think he's a player that you're going to see his best production come when he gets to college, when he's in a more pass-friendly system.
Cut the film on, you see a smooth route runner, catches the ball on 50-50 contested throws, back shoulder throws he adjusted, good balance and body control in terms of contorting his body and just catching the ball. He's not a bursty speed guy. So if you go there and you start looking for fast guys that's going to run by people, that's not him. But what he is, he lulls you to sleep. Before you know it, those long strides catches up to you, and you put the ball anywhere in that area code, he's coming down with that collect call.
We were talking about the importance of these nasty defensive linemen earlier. We got another one in Nigel Smith, the second coming out of Melissa, Texas. He's been a factor for his high school team since his freshman season. So a highly achieved guy here, earning him offers from over 35 programs for his play. Also a two-sport athlete. He's a hooper as well. What do you like about Smith?
Well, I love that athleticism. I love the way he moves so light on his feet, but he's this big guy who can still put on more weight, and I think you see that quick first step, his ability to get into the backfield. And again, we talked about with David Stone, you've got a guy who's got some positional versatility where he could play any one of 3 spots along the defensive line. And in any other class, when you have a defensive lineman like him, he's probably your headliner. He's overshadowed a bit by David Stone, but make no mistake, Nigel Smith is a talent. And again, Smoker goes back to what you said about what did Clemson do to win those national championships when Brett Venables was their defense coordinator.
Big men win. So at the end of the day, when you look at it, David Stone is their Kristen Wilkins, if I have to give a comp, because just sitting on the phone just talking to my buddy Todd Bates, a defensive line coach. Nigel can grow into Dexter Lawrence. You see a big athletic guy with sweet feet, good lateral quickness in a tight phone booth. I know they don't use phone booths anymore, so I got to say tight quarters. Young people don't know about the phone booth, but he's so cat quick. And he has so much power, and for a tall guy, you see the bend. And when you see a tall guy that can bend and generate power out of his hips, long arm offensive lineman, shock and shed him, and still has the ability to put on 20 to 30 pounds, maybe even 50, you're going to have, in a few years, a stout interior player with enough pass rush ability to affect the pocket by pushing and closing the gap.
All right, player comp to Dexter Lawrence. It's a pretty nice compliment. Smoke Huff, thanks so much.